Hey, what's up, how you doing? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video, we're going to be creating a Todo app using Laravel and Flutter. This tutorial is for beginners who are interested in how to work with APIs using Flutter and how to really create APIs using Laravel. Then it's also for those that want to, understand how both works hand in hand. So if you fit into the category I just listed, then this video is for you. All right, so without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so in this section of the video, this is going to be a part one and a part two video. So this part one here, we're going to be creating our API using Laravel. All right, so let us get started. So what we want to do is we want to head over and open up our browser. So I have my browser opened up already, so I'm just going to drag it over here. Okay, so it's open now, and you can see we have Laravel here. So what you want to do is head over to documentations. Then make sure you go to creating Laravel application. And you will notice that we are using Laravel 11. So create a Laravel application. So select for the system you want. So this is going to install PHP on the operating system you're using. Then what you want to go ahead and do is run a Laravel installer. If you have PHP already, just head over and run this Laravel installer. So I've done that before. So I head over to my desktop and I'm going to call my terminal. So yeah, I'm going to sit into my documents and developments, which is where I create my project. I'm going to make a directory called to do. So let me just zoom this in so you can see it. Okay. Then once that is done, so I'm going to cd into to do. So first I want to do is I want to create my Laravel API. So I'll send Laravel to do API. So would you like to install this hierarchy to say no? But you can just pick anyone you want here. So I'm just going to pick PHP unit. Press enter, then wait for our project to continue creating. All right, so you've gotten to this place where it's going to ask us to select the database you want to use. So you can use SQLite if you want. So I'm going to be using my SQL, so my SQL. Then before database updated, would you like to run migration? I'll say no for now. And yep, so that is that. So we don't actually need to run this because we're going to be working with API, so we don't actually need to run this. So what we can do is we can sit into to do API, right? Okay. And so now we need to make use of something we call Sanctum. So Sanctum is going to be what we're going to be using for our API. So what you can do is head over to packages and look at Sanctum here. So now Sanctum is built in with Laravel, but I just want to show you the documentation. So this is Sanctum here. If you go to installation, you will see all you need to do is just pass PHP artisan installed API. So it's as simple as that. So that's what we're going to do now. So make sure you sit into the API. Then let's do PHP artisan install API. So when you run this, it's going to download the Laravel Sanctum composer package in our project. So let's just wait for this to finish up. Okay, so that was fast. And on migration, on that database migration as what has been published, would you like to run on database migration? So we say no because we don't have our database set up already. So we can just say no to that. So once our project has been created successfully, so what we can do is you can open up your project. So I'm using Windsurf, the AI code editor. So you can use whatever you want to use. So I'm going to open up project and documents, developments, and using to do, select to do API. Okay, so that is nice. And you can see we have our projects here. So first I want to do is check your about your env. So let me just zoom everything in so you can see clearly. So go to your env. I want to change our project. So our connection is okay. So we want to create a database called to do API. So let's go to our PHP admin. So I have my local host running already. Okay, sorry, it's not running. So let me just run them a few minutes. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to run my servers. Okay, so my server is running now, so I can just create a new database. So it's going to be called to do underscore API. So just create that, and yep, so that is everything that we need. So now we can just go ahead and now run our migration. So we can say php artisan migrate. Okay, so that's going to run everything for us. Now we check our database. We have okay, so our database has migrated successfully, and you can see we have user stable and so on and so forth. All right, so with that out of the way, so we can get started. So this our to do application here is going to have an authentication system. So we're going to write an auth system for it. So in order to do that, we need to first create what a controller for our authentication system. So what we can do is we can say open up my terminal, and I can see PHP as make controller, right? So I'm going to put it in the auth folder, so I can call this auth controller. Super, we can see our auth here. We now have our auth controller here. So now, yeah, the first we need is what is register. User should be able to register. So we see public function register, right? Sorry, my bad. Okay, so for register, then we want to make sure we pass in request here as well. Then first we need to do is what validate request. So we want to validate our request. So you can say request, right? So request validate this is our data here, and basically we have our request validate. Now we're validating the name, the email, or we're checking if the email has been taken. We have our password required as well. We are checking what for confirm password as well. But with this, what we want to make sure we have is what we want to have a variable called validated here as well. Okay, so now we can now go ahead and create our user. So I basically just say user equals to user create. So I'm going to import the user model. So make sure you import the user model at the top here. So user model, I say create. Okay, so the first we need to create is what the name, or you say validated name, email as well, and the password as well. So for this password here, I like making use of hash. So I'm going to say hash make. When you use hash, it's what imports what's a model in Laravel for you. Okay, good. So with that, next thing we need to do is what we need to actually create our token. Create token. Now, when you work with Sanctum, our user model doesn't have the token stored by default, so we need to add it ourselves. We need to add what as API token in our model. So we have to go to our model here, and we can say comma as API tokens. So now our API will work as expected. So now we can now go ahead and say we want to create our token. I can say our token should be equals to user create token, auth token. We're going to say this is what plain text token. All right, so now we can just return our response. So we can say return response, right? Sorry. The return is where you can say the user should be user and our token should be token, and this should what be 201 because we just created what a request. So this is a push request. This will be what 201. All right. So this is what we need for our register. So let's go ahead and work on the login as well. So now for the login, what we can do, we can say public function login. So this is going to accept what the request as well. So we're going to validate our data. So just like we did previously, we're going to what create a variable called validated. We're going to validate the email and password to each other. And initially, I don't need all this. You know, we can just remove all these. Yep. So we can just say this. The next thing we need to do is we need to what find that particular user or by that email. So we're going to say user is equals to what user where email as what the validated email. So that is the email that was what sent in the request. I'm going to select the first one. So that is the first one. Now after that, want to what after that want to make sure that the user is not empty, or if the user is not empty, or if possibly the password is incorrect. So if hash check, so this hash check takes what the value and what hashed value. So the value is what validated password, and the hash value is what the value we get from this user. So if this is not equal to this, we want to return a response that says invalid password. So invalid credential or invalid password. So what we can do is we can basically just let's say we can throw an exception. So we can say throw validation exception with message. But this is going to throw this exception here. So I think I need to import this. Wait, let me look at the right import. So yeah, it's based on what validation, not .env, which is the second one. So this is going to what return that error as in our what email error field. So instead of creating an error itself, you're just going to return it to the email field. As to say, the provided credentials are what incorrect. And once that is done, next we need to do is what just create the token again, just like we'll be doing. So if the password is incorrect, so if you throw this, all of the process will stop. But if this is true, everything is correct. Once we go ahead and create our token, then we can now go ahead and return our response just like we did here, right? But this time around it's going to be what 200, which is what success. So we don't need to pass 200 here because by default it's going to be what success. And yeah, we've done what we need to do. So now we just need to call them our API. So we just need to call them our API. So in our API here, we can create a route for the post. So it's going to be a route for our post, but I'm just going to remove what this AI did here. But instead, I'm going to import this auth controller, and also we are going to do the same for login. It's going to be login, and it's going to be login as well. Right, so that's that. So what we can do is now is run our server at a sub. And now let's test it out. So I have I have Postman. So let me open up my Postman. Okay, so yeah, it is here. So I can just wait. So I'll change this to HTTP. So first one's going to be a post request. So we're going to set the post request to our server, which is this one here. Copy this. And I'm going to just post this here. So I'm going to say this is going to be API/register. So when I send this request, say it's not going to work. So the reason why is we need to pass our header accept. So to tell this is an API application JSON. So now if you should send this post request, you see we have name field is required, email field is required, and password field is required. So now let's just go ahead and have a name field. So I'm going to put my name there. Okay, then we have an email field. Then we're going to have a password. So now when I run this, say I have an error that says password field does not match. So the password confirmation field does not match. So we need to password underscore confirmation. Now we can pass in password again. If we should run this, we will be able to create our user successfully. Now if you check our database here, you see that our user data has been created successfully. Now let's try the login. So I'm just going to duplicate this tab. So this time I'm going to say login. So either same thing body, same thing as well. So for instead, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to make this one an incorrect password. So when I run this, see I say provided credentials are what's incorrect. Now I just put in the right one. You see we get our token back. So we're able to do the authentication system. Now let's work on the to-do controller. Okay, so now what I want to do now is I want to create our model and our migration. So I'm going to create a new terminal. And I'm going to say PHP artisan make model. So this is going to be to do, and this is going to have a migration tag. So in the migration file here, so what we need to do is we just need to call in table, because we want to be able to track the user that made the post or that added it to do. So you say user ID, but we want to also add some stuff. I say constrained to be to be constrained on on delete should be cascade. So on delete cascade, I want to have title, then I want to have description as well. Description should be nullable, right? And I also want to have completed field, which is going to be what false by default. I can just go ahead and do PHP as this migrate. So that will run migration for us. So I will check my to-do database. You can see I have my to-dos here. Good. And in the to-dos model, so we need to add some stuff in the to-dos model. So in the to-do model here, we're going to say use as factory, right? So we're going to say protected label should be what? The title, the description, the completed, and of course the user ID. Right. Then let us create a cast. So a cast, let's say public no sorry, protected cast. So completed what should be boolean. So by default should be what boolean. So I see casting it to what, make sure it is what is a boolean. I want to create a relationship here. So I can say public function user. So as a public function user, what this belongs to what the user, and I like using what this types. So belongs to this one to what ports they belong to relation. So now once we go back to let's go to the user class here. So we have to do the same thing for user class. So as they say, this user has many to do, right? So that's what we need to do now. So right under here, we can say public function to do. So you can say this user has many to do, and as like I said, add as many here. Okay, so that is everything that we need to do. So now let's go ahead and create our controller. So for our to do controller here, we are going to be using the API resource. So I can say PHP artisan make controller, and I can press no, let's cancel this. Right, let's say PHP artisan list. So PHP what? Alright, I'm not sure I remember the command. I want to see here, I want them to list everything. So PHP artisan make controller. So this is what I'm going to use, and there's a way to call the API here, which is for some reason it's not here. So let's just try it. So you say PHP artisan. So we want to make sure we have our to do folder, to do controller hyphen API. I believe this is it. Yep. And if you check it, alright. So this will create everything that we need for us, the API. So the get method, the post method, the edit, delete, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the first we want to do is work on the index, which is the one that will return all to show all the to do that belongs to the user. So we can say to do's, right? Now we're going to pick the auth authenticated user. Pick authenticated user, and you're going to pick the to do's, and we're going to get them. So what I like doing instead here, I want to make sure I have latest. So I'm going to get what's the latest data. So order them by what date time. So where are we getting this to do's from? Remember, we have our user to do's here. So that is where we're getting the to do's from. Right. All right. So now we just want to make sure we return the response. Okay. So we're going to say return the response. I'm going to say this is what to do. Sorry, my bad. To do's should what equals to what to do's. Don't mind this error here. It's just Visual Studio thing. This is still going to work. Okay. So the next thing we want to work on is what the store method. So this API is not going to take a lot of time. It's not going to take time. So it's pretty much straightforward. So we're going to say validated here. Okay. So we're going to say validated here. We're validating the description requires string and marks. The description as well. I want to make sure what is we want to have completed, but we actually don't need completed because by default it's going to be false. So by default it's going to be what false. So we don't need to pass it actually. So we can just leave that out. So now we can say to do equals to, so this is going to be what single. So we're creating one to do. So instead of to do, it's going to be to do. we're going to select the user, right? We're going to say to do's, remember our relationship. We're going to what create on it. So we can create on it. When we go create on it, I don't need to pass an array again. I can just pass validated. So when passing this, make sure that your title is equal to the title in the database. Description is equal to the description in the database. If yours is not description, if yours is content, make sure it's what content in your database. Okay, right? So once that is done, what I can do is I can just return the response to do. But this time around is going to be what a response of what 201 because we just created a response. Now I want to show single to do. I'm not sure we actually don't need this, but for for learning purpose, we can just do that. So we want to make sure that the user that is viewing this is what authenticated user. So let's say if to do user ID, right? So for this show here, we are not going to pass string. It's going to be what to do. So that's going to be what the to do model. So if to do user what as user ID, I mean, is equals to what to the authenticated user, right? So we want to return the to do. So let's just do if not. So if not is going to make sense. So you say return this to do does not belong to you, or we can just say unauthorized, but let's do that. I'll use 430 for what? Error for forbidding. But if it is true, we can see response and return the to do. And the update, so this update here is basically just like the create. Basically just like the create. So I can just copy this, go to the update, right? So but instead here we use also call again to do. So we use model binding, I believe that's what it's called. So but before we get to that side, we want to do some validation. So if the to do actually belongs to them, just like we did right above here. So we validate the value, the data as expected. But this time around, what we want to have is want to say to do updates validated. I will return what to do. Okay, this time around is going to be 200 as well. And the last thing we need now is what destroy. So the destroyer is going to be what to do. And as expected, we need what to validate this. So by default, you can have a middleware, but we're just going to do it this way. We say call to do delete. I also want to call what response. So today has been deleted successfully. And this is everything we need for our to do. And the last we need to do is go over to our API and we need to what set the routes. So the routes is very easy to do. What we can do is just below this, we can say route. I want to make sure we call what the middleware. And this has what the Auth Sanctum. I'm going to call what the Auth Sanctum on this middleware here. Let's make sure we group it. And say function, right? I'm going to close this. I'm having an error. Close the. Sorry. Trying to figure out what the error is, but you know we'll get it, figure it later. So you say oh, I don't like say this error. I'm just going to write it myself. Let me write it again. Routes middleware. Because I'm not sure I can see that error at all. Middleware. Okay. And I'm just going to delete all this rubbish right here. So what we just need to do is need to do routes. Okay, routes API resources. Okay, so this is going to be API resources and we're going to point to the what endpoint to do. This is going to delete this. I'm going to say import to do. Alright, good. And there's one last thing we need to do. Our authentication here, we need to what add a logout system. So I forgot about that. So let's add a logout system to our authentication. Which is going to be public function logout. You can say the requested user should what? Our current access token should be deleted. Our return none as well. It's response, but we can just say logged out. Okay, logged out. And let's say 200 as well. Okay, so now back to my API. Now I need to pass the logout route here. So you can say route logout. So it's going to be a post request. I will point to the what logout route. But the reason why it's inside the middleware, this middleware Auth System is just to make sure that the user is authenticated before they can view whatever they want to view. So before you can log out, you need to be authenticated. So that's why we did here. Okay, so now we can just open up my terminal again. Now, if I should do PHP artisan route list, I have a list of my routes. You can say I have API login, register, logout. Now we have API to do's to get all the to do's, API to do's, to post, to get a single one, to update a single one, to delete what is single one. So we can just make sure we can just copy our token here. So make sure we are logged in. Create a new request. So this time I receive this will be what a get request to what to do. So now if I should run this, our first thing we need to do is accept application JSON. If I should run this, you see I have what unetiqueted as message. So now we have to pass our authorization bearer token is this. Now run this, you see we have what empty Todo because you don't have anyone. So let's go to post, send this, title is required, description is required. So we say title, how to dance, and description, hello. Okay, so now we send this, you can see we've created our to do with the user. Now if I should change this to get request, it's going to fetch what the data that what belongs to me. I can see completed is what's false as well. So that is that. We can do like a single post view, which is /1. Get that. You can say update as well, and title field is required for the updates. Let's try patch. Okay, this is interesting. Okay, so let's check out the to-do controller as well. Update title is required, description is required, but we are passing the title and description already. So what is happening? So I feel like the reason why is because of postman get issue. That's what postman get issue. If we should singularly write it about ourselves and just use post, it's going to work. But don't worry, when we use our the API, it's going to work. But if you have any idea why we're getting this, please let me know in the comment section. And the last one we have is what deletes. So we can also delete our token by going to what delete /id. So I can say delete. I can run this. I can say it has been deleted. Now I should go back to the to do's, change this to get request, and I run this. It's now empty. Alright, so that will conclude the first section of what using the to do app with Laravel and Flutter. So I'm going to be posting the next section very soon. So if you made it to the end, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Peace.